191, right? 191.
Yes, from new chapter, the passing away of Bhishma Dev in the presence of Lord Krishna.
Okay. Get started. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Sutta Uvacha Iti Bhita Prajadrohat Sarvadharma Vivitsaya Tato Vinashanam Pragat Yatra Devo Vratopatat. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sud Goswami said, being afraid for having killed so many subjects on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Maharaj Yudhishthir went to the scene of the massacre. There, Bhishma Dev was lying on a bed of arrows about to pass away. Purport. In this 9th chapter, as it is willed by Lord Sri Krishna, Bhishma Dev will impart instructions to King Yudhishthir on the subject of occupational duties. Bhishma Dev will also offer his last prayer to the Lord on the verge of passing away from this mortal world and thus become liberated from the bondage of further material engagements. Bhishma Dev was endowed with the power of leaving his material body at will, and his lying down on the bed of arrows was his own choice. This passing away of the great warrior attracted the attention of all the contemporary elites, and all of them assembled there to show their feelings of love, respect, and affection for the great soul. Okay, we'll read, I think, up till verse number 3. Text 2. Tada te bhratara sarve sadashvai svarna bhushitai anvagachan rathair vipra vyasadhaumyaadayastatha. At that time, all his brothers followed him on beautiful chariots drawn by first-class horses decorated with gold ornaments. With them were Vyasa and rishis like Dhaumya, the learned priest of the Pandavas, and others. Bhagavan api viprarshe rathena sadhananjaya Satair Vyarochata Nripa Kuvera Iva Guhyakai. O sage among the Brahmanas, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, also followed, seated on a chariot with Arjuna. Thus King Yudhishthir appeared very aristocratic, like Kuvera surrounded by his companions, the Guhyakas. Purport. Lord Sri Krishna wanted the Pandavas to be present before Bhishma Dev in the most aristocratic order, so that he might be pleased to see them at the time of his death. Kuvera is the richest of all the demigods, and here King Yudhishthir appeared like him, Kuvera, for the procession along with Sri Krishna was quite appropriate to the royalty of King Yudhishthir. Purport ends here. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, who has opened my darkened eyes and filled my heart with transcendental knowledge. I offer my obeisances also to the assembled Vaishnavas and seek your kind blessings and permissions to recite Srimad Bhagavatam on this very auspicious day. So thank you once again, Kirtika Mataji and the devotees, for inviting me. My obeisances to all of you. Special obeisances to Mansi Ganga Mataji. Thank you for joining. It's been a while, and I wanted to wish all of you a happy Diwali, a happy New Year, and happy Govardhan Puja, and lots of happiness all around. It can get a little overwhelming, all these festivities, especially if we are also trying to align our minds with Krishna and Krishna consciousness. And then we have to, of course, we go to the festival. It's very, very nice. The temple's decorated very beautifully. Everyone's homes are decorated, and we put diyas and deeps, and there's rangoli everywhere, and there's fireworks at night, and there's nice snacks being distributed, and the nice sweets exchange, and you go and visit your friends and relatives and put on new clothes, and it's just overwhelming. And then on top of that, you have several things you're trying to keep in mind. Diwali day is the day when the actual Leela of Lord Damodar happened. The tying of the Lord's belly with the rope happened on this day of Diwali. And this was witnessed when Queen Kunti was visiting, Vrindavan area on Diwali day. And she witnessed this happening firsthand, and she speaks about it in her prayers. And just a couple of chapters ago, you'll see that she mentions it. That was quite amazing how you're tied up by Mother Yashoda, how you're treated by the gopis. So she saw it firsthand. So this is the day when that actually happened. Of course, we celebrate the whole month. This is the day. Another thing about this Govardhan Puja is when Krishna lifted the Govardhan hill. So that is a different year, but it's pretty much the same day, right? Diwali, Govardhan Puja, they happen around the same time. So now we have to focus our mind on Damodar Leela. We focus our mind on Govardhan Leela, where Krishna is telling his father Nanda Maharaj, you shouldn't worship Indra, let's worship Govardhan instead. Govardhan gives us everything we want. And so then we have the whole Leela. And then, of course, Diwali is when we celebrate the arrival of Lord Ram back from the war with Ravan, from his exile, and he's arriving back in grand style. He takes a night flight back to Ayodhya on Pushpak Viman, and it's landing in the evening at night actually, and he sends Hanuman up front ahead to let Bharat know that I'm arriving. Because Bharat he had made a promise that if my Lord Ram, if you don't come, even if you're 1 minute late from that night when you're supposed to be back here, I'm going to give up my life. So he told Hanuman to make sure, Bharat doesn't commit suicide. So Hanuman went up ahead, told them Lord Ram is arriving, and everybody got very excited. And they lit up the entire Ayodhya with lamps, with these diyas. And all the streets were lined with lamps to welcome the Lord. Because the daytime doesn't make sense to light lamps, but it's the evening, nighttime, right? And it's there's no full moon around this time, right? So there's no moonlight. So those lamps have become very important. And they're particularly important because Lord Ram is not coming by foot or by horse, he's coming by flight. So, if a flight needs the lights on the runway to land properly, so they could see. And so it's a very beautiful scene where the flight of Pushpak Viman is coming down and the Ayodhya streets are lined with these deepaks. It's gorgeous. That's the whole point of Diwali. To welcome the Lord into our heart, into our lives. How? Well, we can say our lives are very dark. Our hearts are filled with darkness of ignorance. Ajnana timirandasya. But by the mercy of the spiritual master, Jnananjana Shalakaya, by the mercy of the spiritual master, we have these lamps of knowledge. And ultimately, when we serve the Lord with affection, when we serve the Lord with love, the Lord himself lights this knowledge in our heart. This knowledge by which we can understand our relationship with him. We can understand how to exercise that relationship, how to engage ourselves in the understanding of the relationship, what to do, what not to do, how to behave, how to interact with other devotees, how to interact with the world, how to interact with the Lord, how to interact with superiors, how to interact with inferiors. All this information and knowledge come from the lamplight of Jnana. Jnana Deepena Bhasvata. And that light is put in our heart by the Lord himself. So we can discuss all those three perspectives. Okay, now here in this particular section of Srimad Bhagavatam, we are seeing how the Lord has orchestrated the glorification of Bhishma Dev. He's orchestrating this because Bhishma Dev was lying in the battlefield, ready to give up his life. And Yudhishthir had won the war and everything was fine, but Yudhishthir was depressed like anything because millions of people had died on his name. And he felt that because of his own selfishness, his own greed, this huge war took place. He himself killed so many people. Arjuna wiped out massive parts of the army. Bhim just smashed so many people. It's rivers of blood. It's quite gruesome. All for what? Just so that I can enjoy this kingdom? That is not right. I don't deserve to be a king here. I've committed so much sin, I can't even look up from the floor. He was very depressed. So to save him from his depression, to pull him out, to enlighten him, Lord Krishna said, let's go to Bhishma Dev. He can help you out to understand what is not. Because Bhishma Dev is pretty much an embodiment of dharma. Yudhishthir, who is the son of Dharmaraj himself, should know what is dharma. But by the illusory potency that was temporarily put on him by the Lord to facilitate this arrangement, Yudhishthir was covered, he was confused, and he was very sad. So if we find ourselves very sad, very depressed because our circumstances, maybe we think we did something wrong, or we are in circumstance that was beyond our control, we find ourselves down, we can turn to this chapter to put some perspective on our lives of what is actually important. Why there's so many things that are not worth being sad about, that are not worth lamenting about, that are not worth being so preoccupied that we can't even function. But this happens to us because we are conditioned and we have a tendency to lament. See? So when Arjuna was facing this situation, Lord Krishna personally clarified and cleared out his doubts. And that whole conversation is the Bhagavad Gita as it is. When we read Bhagavad Gita as it is, we can see what Krishna said to Arjuna. And the whole Bhagavad Gita is all about really one topic. Point of Bhagavad Gita is Krishna. But the aim of Bhagavad Gita is Krishna Bhagavan himself. But the subject matter being discussed is lamentation, shoka, worry, stress, depression. Yeah. Because if you look at the first opening words of Krishna to Arjuna, he says, Ashochan anvashochastvam pragyavadam shabhashase. You are lamenting for that which is not worth lamenting. Or you're talking like a pandit, pragyavadam shabhashase. But Ashochan, this is not worth lamenting about. And then he goes through the entire Bhagavad Gita from that point on, giving every perspective angle on the three modes and what to do, what not to do, and his position as a Supreme Lord. Everything is covered very nicely. And then at the end, chapter 18, verse number 66, he pretty much caps it up. Says, Sarvadharman parityajya, mam ekam sharanam vraja, aham tam sarvapapabhyo, moksheshami ma shucha. Same word, shucha. See, don't worry, don't lament, don't get stressed out. He ends it with the same point. He opens his message with Ashochan Anvashochastvam. This is not worth lamenting. And now, because you have surrendered to me and I'm freeing you from all sins, don't lament, don't worry, don't stress. So if the entire sandwich of Bhagavad Gita is two sides of you're worrying for nothing, and now I'm telling you after understanding everything, don't worry. That is what it's about. Honestly, a real pain in our lives come from our worries, not from the physical pain of sickness, anything else. We worry about things that will happen to us. We worry about things that we lost. We worry about things that will happen to our near and dear ones. We worry about so many things, about inconveniences and all ups and downs, but we worry about things that are not worth worrying about. That is what Krishna gives us. He gives us a very valuable thing known as perspective. Perspective of life. What is worth worrying about and what is not worth worrying about. We worry about petty things. And so Arjuna's worry was very nicely cleared, and he was confident. When he started fighting, he had no more doubts in his mind. His karishye vachanam tava. All my doubts have been destroyed. I will do what you said. And he fought very clearly without any problems. Yudhishthir Maharaj, during the war, he didn't have any problems. He fought very nicely. He didn't need Bhagavad Gita at that time. He was clear. But now after the war, Krishna put some cloud on his head. The purpose here was to glorify Bhishma Pitama. And then they all went together. So we see this section that they're all getting together. They're lying on the bed of arrows. Bhishma is lying on a bed of arrows. And this is something that is quite beautiful scene, because we see Krishna personally goes for the passing of Bhishma Dev. And not just Krishna, all the stalwarts, all the great sages, and because they knew something great is going to happen. In fact, when Bhishma Dev was about to pass away, even the birds, they stopped chirping. It became dead silent. It was just very beautiful. And then he was fully, this we'll see when we come towards the end of this chapter, he was fully absorbed in Krishna, and Krishna was fully absorbed in him, and they exchange this love because they have an eternal relationship. Bhishma Dev is one of the 12 greatest devotees of the Lord mentioned in the Bhagavatam as Mahajans. So his devotion is top class. His devotion to the Supreme Lord. There's a lot of things to learn from Bhishma Dev. His integrity, his depth in Krishna consciousness, his following of Kshatriya Dharma, his desire to please his father. He didn't even get married because of that, dedication to serve his father. So many things, great about Bhishma Dev. Even when we see Bhishma Dev do some what can be considered a very shameful thing, like he didn't say anything when Draupadi was being dishonored, But even in spite of that, Bhishma Dev is considered great. He was his hands were tied. He could have just untied his hands and said, "Forget it, you guys, stop this," but he didn't. So there's some shameful history around Bhishma Dev's past, but even that was cleansed. Around this time also, it is said that Draupadi came to witness Bhishma Dev on bed of arrows. And everybody approached him and asked him, "Bhishma Dev, please instruct us on dharma, what to do." And Draupadi started laughing. What is he going to instruct on dharma? He couldn't protect me. How is he going to instruct me, you all on dharma? And Bhishma Dev said, "Yes, Draupadi, you're right. Back then, I had eaten the salt of Duryodhan. When you say when a namak khaya means I was on the payroll, I was employed by Duryodhan, I was bound by my word to always take the side of who is on the throne. He say I was bound by my word, and my salt in my blood was tied to Duryodhan. Therefore, I couldn't say anything. Then how can you say anything today about dharma? Well, Arjuna did me a big favor. He poked many holes into my body, and all that salt and blood has drained out now. Not even 1 ounce of salt, 1 gram of salt is left in my body. That has gone. I have no more connection with Duryodhan, and the pain has washed away that guilt. Therefore, I can instruct." And he did. And he did instruct the Yudhishthira on all aspects of dharma. So the thing to learn from here is that the Lord, when he has established a relationship with any devotee, he never forgets that devotee. He always shows up to that devotee at the time of death. Sometimes he's visible and sometimes he's not. In this case, he visibly went there right in front of everybody. But in many cases, we see, and we've heard, even modern day devotees, it's like you can see on their face when they're passing away that they are seeing Krishna, and Krishna has come to receive them and take them. There are many witnesses we've heard of these stories of great devotees among Prabhupada's disciples and other devotees who have given their lives to the preaching movement. And we hear amazing stories, of how either Krishna came or Srila Prabhupada came to their vision just as they're about to pass away. Some of these devotees had left their services, but came back towards the end of their life to rededicate themselves to Krishna. And when they passed away, we could see the glow on their face, the happiness, the smile that they're seeing someone great. Some of them even said, "Thank you, Shri Prabhupada, you came for me." And then there was the last thing they said. Quite a few stories like that. "Krishna, you came for me." That's the last thing they said. It's like amazing, So this phenomenon of the Lord making his way to a devotee is about to leave, it's very unique, it's very sweet, and the Lord does take care of the devotees. Which brings us to this pastime of Govardhan Puja. What is Krishna doing Govardhan Puja? Govardhan Leela. He is lifting the mountain to protect his devotees. Literally lifting the mountain, and also figuratively. In English we have a saying, he'll move mountains for you. So Krishna figuratively and literally will move mountains for you if you are in his circle of devotees. It doesn't take much to be in his circle of devotees. You just say, "My Lord, I'm yours. I want to be yours. I surrender to you." And then one implements the 6 principles of surrender we talked about. Doing things that are favorable to Krishna consciousness, taking up the chanting process, so many nice things you can do. The Lord pulls you in a circle very quickly. He'll pull you under the umbrella of Govardhan very quickly. And that storm of materially conditioned life, which is raging outside, doesn't affect us because we are under the amazing mountain of Govardhan. And Krishna is holding it up on his little finger. So Krishna protects his devotees. He's given that promise in the Bhagavad Gita that he protects his devotees. He also, what does it mean to protect his devotees? He's basically protecting our devotion. He's guarding it. He's making sure that we don't make mistakes. Sometimes we may have some plan that, "My Lord, I want to be very rich man, make so much money and be successful, then I'll serve you." But time and time again, not everybody's desires for riches are fulfilled. They may be sincere devotees, but we see that they're frustrated about riches left and right. The businesses fail, they lose jobs, all kinds of things happen. But the devotees don't give up Krishna. Because a mature devotee recognizes that Krishna may be my plan of protecting my devotion by becoming more rich. Maybe it's actually going to destroy my devotion. If I become too rich, I may get too puffed up or get too corrupted and forget about you. So maybe it's good you didn't let me get too rich. All the mature devotee accepts what Krishna does for him or her and continues to serve the Lord. This pleases the Lord very much. The mature devotee always follows his duty, does not break the principles of integrity and honesty. His behavior is very straightforward and plain. It's not duplicitous. It's not manipulative. Simple, straightforward person, very honest, clear, and applies all his intelligence and resources in making progress in spiritual life. And if things go up and down, that is beyond his control, then the devotee recognizes, "My Lord, this is your mercy. You have protected my devotion." So a mature devotee feels always the protection of Krishna, even if that protection may appear to look like a setback. The Pandavas had many setbacks. Sudama had setback his whole life. He was very poor, but still, when he went to visit Krishna, Krishna gave him a nice time, spent some days there with him and sent him back. When he sent him back, he didn't give him any money. And then Sudama, he thought, "No, I didn't give any money, but it's probably smart of Krishna not give me any money, because if he had given me money, maybe I would have been puffed up or forgotten Krishna. So Krishna is very kind to me." And happily he went back with the same, torn clothes. Of course, when he reached his house, he couldn't recognize he got a palace and all that. But so Krishna, he may give, he may not give. The mature angle that Sudama gave us always remain happy that Krishna is protecting my devotional service as long as I remain under the umbrella of Govardhan. And for us, what is that umbrella? The shelter of bona fide spiritual master, the shelter of the association of devotees, the shelter of the holy name, the shelter of following all the principles and making sure that we stay within these, try to apply the 6 principles of surrender as much as possible in our lives. So Krishna protects us and we'll feel confident. Ultimately, what is this one life? It moves so fast. We die so quickly. In a few years, we'll all be gone. make such a big deal of all these small things. That perspective Krishna gives us. See? So that is the significance of Govardhan Leela. At least one of the points. Significance of Damodar Leela, of course, we see, and we've heard this many times when Mother Yashoda ties Krishna with the rope. We cannot understand. We cannot understand how the Lord, who is the manifestation of fearlessness, who is embodiment of fearlessness, can himself be full of fear. Right? He's shaking full of fear, and he's actually feeling it. But even when he's full of fear, he grants us fearlessness. And we mentioned this last time, even when he's bound up by the ropes, he grants mukti to the Yamalajana trees, to Nalku and Manigriv. So the Lord, being saturated by fear, does not stop him from giving us abhayadan, from giving us fearlessness. Just the Lord being bound up does not stop him from being Mukunda, the giver of liberation. That is the greatness of the Lord. And so we can simultaneously relish the sweetness of that pastime of the Lord's eyes, that is rubbing him eyes again and again, right? Running away from Mother Yashoda. Admiring that sweetness while also feeling confident in his ability to give us fearlessness, to take care of our spiritual life. And he also appreciates our sticking with the program. Sticking with the program is really the most important thing described. This is the motto of a devotee. In the Bhagavatam, there is a verse, I think I mentioned this verse last time, Tatyanu Kampam Sasamikshamano. It's among the prayers of Lord Brahma. That verse is about, that's the motto of all devotees. It should be the motto. It is called sticking with the program. What is sticking with the program? Tatyanu Kampam Sasamikshamano. Bhunjana evat ma kritam vipakam. Hrid vagvapurbhir viditan namaste. Jiveta yo mukti pade sadayapa. That one continues to suffer the ups and downs of life that are coming to him because of his own past karma. Recognize, this is just my karma. Continue to suffer. At the same time, fully bowing down to Krishna. Namaste. Fully bowing down to Krishna means what? Which means Hrid Vag Vapur, with the heart, with the words, and with the body. Heart means emotionally completely attached to Krishna. Mind, intelligence, everything is attached to Krishna. Words mean everything he speaks. It's all about Krishna. And Vapur, body, everything he does is to serve Krishna, in spite of ups and downs of life. That is called sticking with the program. Nothing can shake that person. That is what it means to stay with the program. That person is eligible to receive the liberation, the benediction of liberation. Without fail, becomes his rightful claim, Sadaya Bhag. See? So that's what it means to stick with the program, to remain surrendered. So while we're running around dealing with Diwali and New Year's and getting blessings and dealing logistics, going here, there, let us keep these three images in mind. What are three images? The beautiful image of Damodar being bound up with love, the rope of love. And he's still giving us so much mercy. One. Second, Govardhan Puja, Krishna lifting up this huge Govardhan and giving us the deep sense of security and protection, while also smiling at us as we come closer to him in that circle. There's a second image we should keep in mind and meditate on this day, this week. And the third image is Lord Sri Ram landing with his Pushpak Viman, coming full speed. And he's looking for the diyas in our heart, so that he can land there. So on Deepavali, we light the deepas of knowledge. Let us invest some time, or at least let us make, say, a plan or some kind of rededication that from now on I'll not miss any classes, because that each class is like lighting a lamp of knowledge. in our heart, to prepare the runway of the heart to receive the Lord's Pushpak Viman. That's how we show interest to the Lord. My Lord, I'm interested in you landing in my heart. Please come. Lord, the Lord wants to see if you're interested. He'll never force himself into your mind, your heart, into your consciousness. Never. He always goes where he's invited, where he's welcomed, where he's received nicely, where he's wanted. It's etiquette. Nobody wants to go where they're not wanted. General etiquette is you don't go to somewhere where you're not invited. Why you go there, someone make a face. Why is he here? Nobody who invited him. Krishna doesn't like to see that. Therefore, he'll only hang out. He'll only come into your life. He'll only come into consciousness if you genuinely want him, you genuinely invite him. Invite him with the lamps on the runway, the lamps of knowledge. You see. So let us invest some time to cultivate transcendental knowledge. Transcendental knowledge is given to us by Srila Prabhupada. See. And that lamp, ultimately the light of the lamp is Krishna himself. You see, so that light of the lamp is what? It is given to us as a gift by the Lord, by the way. And that Lord's gift is given to only those who are doing two things. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. This is Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse number 8. To those who are constantly engaged, satata yuktanam, and bhajatam priti purvakam, engaged in my service and doing my service with priti, with affection, with love. Constantly, means daily, as much as possible, affection and love. Then dadami buddhi yogam tam. To them I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me. That is a gift of the Lord. Otherwise, the Lord is impossible to understand. He's very confidential. He's very difficult to grasp. But if you do these two things, satata yuktana, bhajatam priti purvakam, always and full of affection, then the Lord gives us the gift. And he says later on in the same chapter, Jnana Deepena Bhasvata, with the deepa, with the lamp of knowledge, I will dissipate the ignorance that is in the heart. See, so the lamp's power comes from Krishna. All we have to do is welcome him into the heart, cultivate knowledge, and two things. Satata means all the time, serve the Lord, and Priti Purvakam, serve him with affection. If you can do these two things, regular means on a daily basis, and infuse that action with as much direct love and affection as possible, certainly the Lord will give us intelligence by which we can come to him. Our lamps will shine, burn brighter and brighter, and the ups and downs of life around us will have no consequence on our consciousness, on the stability of our happiness in the heart, on our sense of satisfaction with life, on our sense of purpose in our life. Because the purpose is Krishna, not these other metrics that we measure our lives by. These things go up and down. Krishna is the only metric we can measure, that a meaningful measurement of success in our life. Am I remembering Krishna today? Have I forgotten Krishna today? That's the only thing that's worth measuring and worth working towards. So I'll pause over here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Prbhuji. Thank you so much for this wonderful class. I liked how you put in everything into perspective, taking Diwali and the Govardhan Leela and making us and reminding us to meditate on it this week, and how Bhishma Pitama will in this chapter be seeing Krishna and giving Yudhishthir Maharaj the knowledge.
Hare Krishna, Mansi Ganga Mataji. Hari
Questions or
Bol.
comments?
My obeisances. She turned on the camera. Thank you. So nice to see you, Mother.
Mataji, thank you very much for joining. Dhanvat Pranam. Are there any questions or comments?
Mataji is saying something wonderful, but she's muted, so we cannot hear.
Oh, Mataji, you are muted. We can't hear you.
All right. No, I said I had to attend today, come what may. And luckily my boys had eaten in good time. So I was free. So I thought, wow, this was Krishna's arrangement. Anyway, Madan Gopal Prabhuji, is so good to hear you after so long. I have such wonderful points. I'd just like to recap with you that the landing of Lord Ram in the night and with all the lit up, it's just like you can visualize how when we land at night and those lights are lit, such a vivid and nice explanation the way he spoke. And the best part I liked from this today was how we invite Krishna to our heart. He can't come uninvited. Hey, a point I've never ever thought of, isn't it? It was so beautifully put that we don't go somewhere where we are not invited. So why should Krishna come to us without invitation? Thank you so much, so much. Just on, and so many more points, but let me allow other people to speak.
Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Beautiful. Yes.
Thank you very
I
much.
know what
Mother.
all I miss when I miss classes. He was saying, no, you must attend. But what do you do? Sometimes you have no choice, you know. Okay, anyway, I'll hear others also. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji, for joining. We do appreciate and we are cognizant of your time. And in spite of all that, you still managed to join in. So thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Are there any other questions or comments from the group? I think everybody has
Hare
been.
Krishna Prabhuji, just a comment. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisance. Thank you for the wonderful, wonderful class. Just a comment that, on Govardhan Puja, so that's tomorrow. It's never really occurred to me that there is such a deep meaning to it, that Krishna holding up that mountain was actually a sign of him protecting us all the time. I know when I hear classes, when I hear senior Prbhuji's and Mataji's teaching that, as you mentioned, 1866, where Krishna says, just leave everything and then surrender unto me. When I listen to that, I remember, okay, fine, I mustn't worry about anything in life. And then the day-to-day things take over, and we forget that Krishna, if we surrender unto Krishna, Krishna is always there to protect us. So thank you very much again for reminding us of this, especially in front, just before Govardhan Puja. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Panchali Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, any other comments? Prbhuji, once you said not a blade of grass moves without his
Sanction.
will. Yeah, and I remember that. And whenever anything happens, I always remember you, and I remember that. And I say, okay, that's what he wants, because nothing will move without him. So if there's a standstill, or if things are moving fast, it's just because that's what he wants. So thank you. This reminded me of one of your classes as well. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Actually, that's an important point. That point can be misused, by the way, also, so you have to be careful. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you how a lot of people misuse that point. Not a blade of grass moves without Krishna's will. So until Krishna pushes me to go to temple, until Krishna pushes me to chant, I'm not going to chant. It's a kind of rascaldom. A lot of people say that if God wanted me devotee, I would have been devotee by now. It's clear he does not want me to be a devotee. You see, so that rascaldom is there in our heart. There's in each of our conditioned heart, those of us who are conditioned like me, there's a little rascal sitting there, always looking for opportunities to bounce back to Krishna, his own things. But we are the losers when we try to do that. So yes, it is a fact that not a blade of grass moves without his sanction. Thing to understand is that Krishna has given us freedom, little gap of freedom that we have to always use properly. Now, if we use it properly, then some things may happen which are pleasant, some things may happen unpleasant, which are beyond our control. That Krishna sanctions, depending on what is best for us. So that we have no control, but things that we do have control, we should exercise a proper choice. Not go the lazy way or the rascaldom way that I'll become Krishna conscious when I'm older. And then old age never comes. Old age never comes. Have you noticed? Old age never comes to anybody. At least when they are looking in the mirror, they think they look young. Everybody else sees the guy is old, but to him, old age, still 10 more years before I'm old age, you know. I'm 75. This 75 is the youth of old age, you know. So like that. 85, I'll start chanting.
Yeah.
And 84, you know, then that doesn't go beyond 84. So we have to start right away without misusing that that cop out. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any
Hare
questions
Krishna.
or comments?
Yeah, Madan, Gopal, Prabhuji. What about this old lady who shies away from attending Mangalarti, saying, I'm very old, I've attended Mangalarti for long, now I need my sleep more than, Mangalarti, when you were saying every time you attend is when you're actually inviting Krishna to your heart. So how do I get or snap out of this justification of old age?
That you have to ask yourself, Mataji. But main thing is your health. Prabhupada did say first health, then service, and then preaching like that.
But
So,
like you
if
said, you can take it like, yeah, it's my health. It's not me. Actually,
that's what I'm saying. You have to ask yourself that question. Yes. A lot of the questions we have to ask ourselves. The only answer can come from our own heart. We know our limitations. A lot of the times our limitations are in our mind. A lot of time they are real, and they have a real impact.
Who's going to judge whether it's real or it's your mind? You.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question. So that's why I'm saying, a lot of these little things, we have to make the right choice. And we have to, the more honest we are with ourselves, the more progress we can make. So what is good for one person may not work for another person. We have our abilities. Some people can lift 50 kilogram bags, some people cannot even lift 10 kilogram bag. Doesn't mean that everybody should be able to lift 50 kilogram bag, right? What kind of devotee are you? You can't even lift 50 kilos. You're useless. You can't do any service for the Lord. Minimum 50 kilos, everybody must lift. But it's not possible for everybody. Some people can do 150 kilos. Some people are accountants and some people are farmers. I mean, we all have different inclinations, our different body and mind combinations that make us weaker in areas and stronger in some other areas. So we just have to balance that out. Srila Prabhupada gave allowance, tremendous leeway and allowance for the purpose of preaching. If for the purpose of sharing Krishna consciousness, for someone who's dedicated their lives to sharing Krishna consciousness with others, to facilitate others to become devotees, those are soldiers in the field. The rest of us, ordinary folks like us, we are just civilians, but the soldiers are the top citizens of the country because they put their lives on the line. They've given their lives to fight the war in the battlefronts over there, taking care of other soldiers, making sure they can fight. For these soldiers, many of the rules don't apply. Srila Prabhupada did that. We saw in his life also. Many of them, he didn't make them do some of the standard things that he wanted. In fact, even he told Ramakrishna Maharaj was saying, I can't go to China. It's so tough over there. All you can do is eat meat and there's no vegetarian food. Prabhupada said, no, we are preaching there. And if there's nothing available, you eat meat, but you preach. So, he went to that extent, So the point Prabhupada was making, the point I'm trying to make is those who have dedicated their lives and are really pushing for and given their whole lives to give Krishna consciousness to others. They're very rare. Two, there's nobody more dear to them than that devotee. Krishna says in the 18th chapter. And three, there never will be anybody in the future more dear to them. So there's no question of where you stand, where the devotees have dedicated life. People are like us, we can just talk. But those have given so many decades and continue to do so in spite of health's ups and downs. Many of these rules don't apply. It's like month of Kartik. Month of Kartik, they say it's like a sale. You go to a mall, there's a sale going on. So come, you chant more and Kartik, you get 100 time benefit, 1,000 time benefit. On Kartik month, you do everything. If you notice, Prabhupada did not emphasize those things. Only one time Prabhupada asked about this Kartik month thing, and what he said, for devotees, these things don't matter. Because, see, in the mall you go, there's 60% off sale in the month of Kartik. 60% off. But employees of the mall, they get 90% off throughout the year. The 60% coupon is not very relevant. It's not relevant to that person because employee is 90%, because employee discount is 90% off throughout the year. You see, that's why this Kartik doesn't matter so much to those who have given their lives to Krishna preaching, you see. So they don't emphasize so much. You hear Prabhupada doesn't emphasize so much. We do these days to try to entice people to come. It's very nice, not bad, it's good. But, so many of these rules, many of these coupons, they don't apply to devotees. The devotees are already so far ahead. Devotees meaning those who are, given their lives to Krishna. So that's all I can say about you, Mataji. You always have an inspiration. And this question doesn't really apply from where I stand, from your point of view. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Well said. We are all here because of Mataji, each and every
Me
one.
too, me too, me too, 100%. Thank you.
No,
Hare Krishna. So I
everyone
have
is
to
Hare
I have to step away, but I appreciate all your kind mercy upon this poor soul. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah. Thank you, Prbhuji. You did 3 Tuesdays in a row, and we are really grateful. And I know we won't have you next Tuesday, but I'll still haunt you after a month or so.
Yeah, we'll try to find some other day if something works out.
Another day. Yeah, yeah.
I'd like to join. Okay, Hare Krishna. Hare
Hare
Bol.
Hare Krishna. Let's all unmute and chant the Maha Mantra once to glorify Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama.
Ram,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Pancha Kalpataru.
Pranam Bhavane Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Samveta Bhaktavinda ki jai. Hare Bol.
Ms. Madan Gopal Prabhuji ki jai.
Jai.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prbhuji. That was such a
Thank you.
wonderful class.
Thank you, everybody.